rather dream about him.
Their bad side and they'll destroy you.
No one would miss me.
That's not true. I would.
Alrighty then. No, we can hear each other? No technical difficulties today? Look at us. Speaking of, one sec. We back? I'm having my own technical difficulties, but I think we're good now. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a little Friday vibes. I got a little bit of a headache today. Don't know where that just crept up on me, but other than that, I can't complain. How about yourself? Mm. Oh,
Check. Oh, there I am. Bro, here we were congratulating ourselves for no audio issues, and what do you know?
we were humbled very quickly.
Yeah, here's the deal, man. I've just learned. I don't know if you guys have ever found yourself in this situation. My computer just changes settings, like without question. And one of the things it does is it loves to like switch my microphone default to like a bunch of numbers and letters.
Yes, mine does that too.
I
What
don't know.
is that?
I don't know what that is.
What is that?
Yeah.
It does that for my output. It does it for both input and output for me.
But it doesn't do it like if I turn the mixer off and turn it on again, it doesn't do it every time. it's like randomly.
Yeah, it's
like,
just random.
Months will go by and suddenly it's
Yeah.
changed it to, but the other thing going on in the world of Blake, you'd appreciate this. I think my graphics card is failing because
Is what? Sorry.
is failing. I think my graphics card is failing.
Bro, I think mine might be too.
Yeah. Do you know what you have? You got
I have a 1080 Ti.
Oh, we have the same one. Dude, that's
Which
a great card.
Was amazing, but it's kind of old now.
I didn't realize we both had the same graphics card. We have a good graphics card.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, bro, it was like almost like a decade I've had this.
Yeah, same. By the way, Carrot Plush said, me every time I have to use Adobe. That's so real. That is so true. And then Aqua.
I wonder if we're having the same issue then. Like, what's going on with yours?
Oh, well, I think that's probably, I mean, I don't know. I do think it's dying. This thing has put in work, though. And I love this card for how much ROI I've gotten on it.
Yeah.
But so about maybe 6 weeks ago, on my taskbar at the very bottom, there was just like a single black line, like across the taskbar. And I thought, like, kind of like cutting it in half. And I thought, that's very strange. And it's just like a visual line. Well, about a week later, a second line appeared above it.
Uh-oh.
Which I thought, that's odd. Well, at this point, as of today, there are 5 black lines just on the bottom of my screen. And it's like now it's above the taskbar too. So it's like multiplying and creeping up. And I've tried doing like a fresh, like uninstall the drivers and reinstall, which didn't change it. But the reason I'm bringing this up today is this has never happened before till now. So I have my OBS over here, but like the actual Discord screen, it's like we're having a stroke. Like, it's like on the OBS, I can see it's fluid and clean, but over here, it's like spritzing out, you know, which is new. So I feel like that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Mine's not that, but I have a couple weird issues, but the most troubling one that's now so anytime my computer goes to sleep and I wake it back up, there is a split second when it first wakes up where it's just all glitched. Like straight out the Matrix.
Yeah.
And then it fixes. But I'm like, that's not a good sign.
I have something similar with mine where I'll just be working and both screens it just keeps getting worse as we describe it. I'll just be working and then both monitors go black. But only for like
mine
does
that too.
Yeah, only for like 2 seconds and then it comes back. And so you're just
sometimes I can't get mine back from being black.
Do you have to like reset the monitor or like do
you
restart the computer or what?
I have to now this hasn't happened too much, but I have to like fully shut off the computer and turn it back on to like get anything out of it.
Didn't you have like an issue like way back in the day with your computer like restarting or something?
Bro, that was so this computer we're talking about our issues right now, but it has been the best. Like I haven't had any issues with it until now, like 8 years deep.
Bro.
But the computer I had before this, it just reset.
This was the Dell.
Oh my gosh, it was the worst.
This was the Dell computer, right? Is that what I'm thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah, the same one that you helped like when I first got it, it had that issue and we could not get them to like fix it.
I think in hindsight that was probably like some kind of base driver, I would assume. But yeah, I was so Will got this brand new computer from Dell. And this was not my computer. I was not financially invested at all. But because of this one particular instance, I hate Dell. And I will never buy from them. I didn't even buy from them originally, but I was so mad about the situation that this is how you can know Will and I are friends. I remember being in your room because we were roommates years ago and like being on the Dell support like for an hour waiting to talk to them. But so Will, day one of a brand new computer, would just restart on its own for no reason. Just boom, restart. And Dell was pretty much, I guess without getting too into the story, basically did nothing and we're like, you're screwed. And I think actually Amazon, I think maybe we bought it through you. I was very invested in this emotionally. I think you bought it through Amazon, and I think Amazon.
I think that sounds right.
I think Amazon, even though, and here's what was really frustrating about Dell, they wouldn't they just kept like kicking it down the curb, and then finally, when they couldn't fix it, we were like, we just want to return it, and they're like, oh, sorry, it's past 30 days, so you can't, because they had delayed it so much that's why it was past 30 days. So
Yeah.
I remember being furious about this, but good guy Amazon, which is a rare thing to say these days because of our, billionaire overlord Jeff Bezos. But this is 10 years ago. Good guy Amazon, though, it was like I think like 6 months later that they offered to refund half of the computer amount.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a nice gesture. But
yeah, I had forgotten about that, but now that you say that, I think that did happen.
Yeah. But anyway. So yeah, you've been through some trauma. I'm glad you've had a computer now that is.
I know. So I really, I'm very thankful for this one, even though I think it's near the end of its life cycle. It's served me well.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine having these graphics cards? We've had these graphics cards for, I think for me, it's been probably 6 years, maybe, or 7 years. But, going on 5 to 10 years regardless. I just imagine what it's going to be like when we finally get a new graphics card.
No.
Like, what's it going to feel like?
It's going to be crazy, I think.
I know a lot of your. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I know a lot of your video content on your own is, I think it's with your phone.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of mine is on the desktop, and it really like, you can hear this thing firing up. And so I just wonder, like, wow, can I actually like render a video? Because this is another big pain point for me is I'll render a video, and as it's rendering, when I'm finalizing it, like a 1 hour video takes like 4 hours. Yeah. And so then you go back and you realize you messed up this one tiny piece, and you're like, oh, do I want to spend another 4 hours waiting on this thing? But I have to imagine with like a real deal GPU, this thing's going to be a little bit easier. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, are you still like, you'll just upgrade piecemeal?
Yeah,
like,
because
you'll get a new graphic. Like, will you ever get like a whole new computer, or you think you'll just get like a graphics card and then?
I've been for the last I've never had. In my younger days, I would maybe have enough money in the bank account to just buy outright a whole new setup.
Yeah,
it's not the case anymore. So like nowadays, like I have the GPU, the CPU I have in there is like maybe a $200 CPU, and I think I bought that maybe a year and a half ago. So every couple of years I'll be like, oh, I need to buy. Like just looking at it, I have a couple of fans in here. I bought these fans; they were like $60, and I bought those maybe 6 months ago. So, and then like the power supply failed 2 years ago. That was $100. So I swapped that out. So yeah, I think I'll just keep. I think the next two big purchases will be like the motherboard, and then the graphics card. The graphics card, honestly, I would need like a really big heyday to legitimize, but I'd love to get like a 4000 series GPU or something. We'll see. I've heard, by the way, Facebook Marketplace. A buddy of mine was like, oh, I always get mine on Facebook Marketplace, but I feel like I just don't know if I would trust the random person to,
Yeah. I feel like you could you'd get lucky to find something good on there.
It seems that way.
But like standard, maybe not the safest bet.
I think I'd have to find like some dad or some mom who's like selling their child's PC or something.
Yeah, exactly.
They played Minecraft for the last time, or but they have like a $6,000 computer. Yeah. That used to be the joke for Will and I is we're gonna upgrade. Hearthstone's gonna run so well. But do you think you'll do a like get a little nest egg aside and then do like a pre-made, or?
I don't like. I've always. I think I've had this computer for 7 years, but I wanted to like build one, but then this one's been so good that it's like they're expensive, so I don't know if I could afford to like just get a brand new computer. But in a perfect world, I think I would maybe just do what I did again. Since
honestly, I think as long as you buy from like a reputable seller, from what I understand, those can be pretty decent. So. Yeah, you don't have to build your own computer, and to be honest, I built my own PC is a little bit of a. I mean, for those of you who've never built your own computer, it's like Lego blocks. Like it's pretty hard to. Like it's color coded. This slot can only fit in this slot.
Yeah.
So, having said that, there have been a couple of moments where, like swapping a part out, and then it like doesn't turn on, and you're just like, oh, like what's going on here? But then you're like, oh, I didn't plug the power into the CPU or what have you. But McGurb says I use a website called Back Market that sells refurbished stuff that's always been top quality, no issues, and really good prices. I'll check that out too.
Check that out. I
like for cables. There's a whole crazy market for cables. I like Monoprice for my cables, which I haven't
heard of it.
I haven't had to buy a cable from there in forever because I bought a ton back in the day. But you know how back in the day you'd go to Best Buy and they'd be like, yeah, you want one of our monster cables, this HDMI cable for $80?
Yeah, they're like literally like 1,000% markup.
Yeah, they're insane. Well, on Monoprice, it's like $4. So I have a ton of cables just from having bought from Monoprice. But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know when. I guess you don't really either, but that's definitely on the horizon at some point.
Yeah.
Like sooner than later. But I also need a new phone. So I don't know, I don't know which one I should
how old is
invest in first.
How old's your phone?
It's like 5 years old, which is pretty old for a phone.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
it's also just it's so beaten too. And it can't hold a charge.
Ooh, yeah. That's when I really like my phone, and mine feels good. And I've had it for maybe 3 years or maybe 2 years. And that feels, it's funny, like when we were younger, or maybe this is just me, but I remember the old days with AT&T, you could just every 2 years get the newest version. Can't do that anymore. But anyway, I'm not even on AT&T anymore, but yeah, I guess I have a few years still for a phone, but it does get a bummer when it stops holding the charge, because then you're just like, this is so
you just feel like you got to revolve your life around being near a charging cable.
Yeah.
Especially because I use it
right
all day, every day,
right.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our tech hour.
I think if I had a huge windfall, like a huge sale in my business, I would definitely do the GPU. But I have so much debt, man, that my first thought is I would just get out from the crippling debt that I face every month.
Right.
So
yeah.
Which I found out most Americans have lots of debt, so yay me.
Yeah, good for us, right?
Oh.
We're in this together.
Did you watch Divergence last night?
I actually didn't. We were I was going to, because I always do on Thursdays, but you know this. We've been watching Severance, and we watch an episode every night. And where we had left off the night before was we had the finale, and so Ashley really wanted to watch that, and I was like, yeah, I can just watch this weekend. So I actually haven't seen any of it.
Okay, cool. What if
Did you watch it?
What if I was like, oh, I did watch it. It was good.
Whole thing?
I have maybe an hour left. I got to the very. It's another 5 hour plus video.
Okay.
So
are there 4 episodes? Have they said?
Yeah, there'll be 4. This one ended with me, or ended. I didn't finish it, but this one was a very cool episode. We'll talk about it after all the whole series is done. But I do wonder where is this series going, in the sense of I wonder what Brennan has in mind for the end destination.
Interesting.
But anyway, definitely so far feels like a much better vibe than Calamity.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
Worlds Beyond's coming. We got a new episode on Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah.
This one's getting close to a finale too, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's gonna be sad, man. But this later spring time, when we get into March and April, is gonna be a sad time for us.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be weird not having CR or that, or at least I wonder how. For Worlds Beyond, I wonder how they're gonna handle it. If they'll immediately jump into their next thing, or if they'll do
Little
Like
break.
yeah. Which I'm sure they'll do like they've done in their previous breaks, like one
Yeah.
shots and stuff, if nothing else. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the hardest part about Worlds Beyond is just knowing the unknown of how we don't know how long the break's going to be. You know, I'd say
Yeah.
calling it a break may not even be an appropriate.
Yeah, I
way
just
to
meant the
describe
break
it.
between this and their sci-fi campaign. But like,
Right.
yeah, the break between chapter 1 and chapter 2, like I'm guessing it's going to be at least a year,
Yeah, and it could be
like maybe multiple years.
exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. McGurb said, "I'd love to see a cultural shift towards sustainability and durability in the tech market in my lifetime, but I'm not holding my breath." I would definitely say that will probably never happen. People love money, and as soon as Apple proved that people would buy the latest model every year, and I'm gonna throw my mom under the bus because there was a time maybe 5 or 6 years ago where she was like complaining about like the latest iPhone, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna buy it anyway," and I was like, "Cool." That's pretty much that's their customer right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of tech waste, by the way. This is like a whole. It doesn't really get much like news headline, but like huge landfills of just tech products that they're trying to figure out like what to do with.
Like, yeah, I guess just people's old ones that they can't.
Yeah, well, not even just
salvage
phones,
anything
not even
with?
just phones, but just like computer parts and just there's a whole, and it's not easily recycle's not the right word.
Yeah.
Neither is like dealt with, but it's just like not
Right.
easily dealt with.
It is weird to think about that. Like, this is weird to even say, I guess, but like at some point, we're gonna reach like a critical mass with that and like several other facets of like society. Like, what are we just gonna like shoot it off into space or something? Like,
I feel like
we don't have to worry about it in our lifetime, I'm sure, but like, it's interesting to think about what they're gonna do when it reaches that point.
I think I can just see the headline of like trash meteor hurtling towards Earth.
It was a plot point in Futurama. Did you ever see that one?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, they
That doesn't
they
surprise
literally
me.
did that in Futurama, and then it
Okay.
like circled back. I'm paraphrasing, because I don't really remember, but I think it like circled back around and was gonna like crash into the Earth.
These
or
weren't
something.
like the Futurama writers like PhD like geniuses or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, they were.
that doesn't surprise me that they they thought of that, but
Yeah,
I just think of
they like literally created a mathematical theorem or something for one of the episodes.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
I just think of my kids and I'm like, I just want like the world to be okay for them.
Yeah.
Now their kids, I'm cool with.
The hell with them.
Yeah. I'm just taking care of my immediate future.
Yeah.
So, Carrot Plush said, the thing is, we don't actually know if it's difficult to handle so much as we don't want to. It's actually a very interesting and fair point. Canada had an initiative to convert trash to energy, but companies didn't want to join when they had. To say that their company handles garbage and it's all optics. Yeah, there was an interesting local initiative in Fayetteville for it was like some like recycling and waste initiative, and the whole thing around it was basically the long, sorry, making this as simple as possible. Businesses didn't want to participate unless there was some kind of like sticker you could put on your window of your store.
Yeah,
That's like, part of the green initiative. I'm butchering it. And so from like the optics standpoint of, and I'm oversimplifying. It's not like there was a business like, we're not going to do it unless we get that sticker. But there was definitely like a conversation around like, well, what's like the customer facing side to this? And it was like, I mean, maybe we could just be good humans, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that'd be nice, but unfortunately, not the world we live in.
Have you ever checked into like all the food waste that happens like in grocery stores and stuff?
Yeah.
Like that's extremely upsetting.
Yeah, and it's the worst when like, and this is just like anecdotal at best, but like I'm sure you've seen it too, where like like somebody gets arrested for like taking it out of the dumpster. Like we just want to donate this to the homeless shelter, and they're like, no, we're gonna press charges. And it's like, why do you care at that point? You know what I mean? Like,
now here's the deal, guys. This is not the podcast episode where you're gonna hear from two well-read, smart people. This is anecdotal at best, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. You know,
that'd be a good podcast name.
What is it?
Anecdotal at best.
Yeah. We're just gonna give you our half-baked theories on how things should work.
Exactly.
If it gets any momentum, it's like those two guys should run for president. You know, who knows? But seeds for our future here. But I remember when I was delivering bread in high school to like the local grocery stores. And I remember one of them, the guy working there was talking about how they were having to bleach their food waste at night to keep people from, and the way they, and I go back, actually I don't really go back and forth anymore on this. I'm pretty like far in the angle of like, hey, there's something messed up here. The way he described it to me, he was like, well, it's like a liability thing. If someone like ate our food and got sick, like, but now in hindsight, I'm like, well, why would they get sick? It's like, it's your grocery store. But I guess, it's been in the dumpster or whatever. I don't know. But
but I mean, at that point, it's just like, it was their choice to eat from the dumpster. Yeah. But I mean, I guess, I think frivolous lawsuits everywhere.
Yeah,
as people
true.
are trying to.
Well, in hindsight, it's kind of like, are we really going to just like write off, millions of pounds of food because we got to protect our liability? I'm just like, something seems not right about this. And then also, if you want to get really cynical about the world, which I love these conversations, the childhood poverty rate in America, I think, is like 24% or something. Again, anecdotal at best, by the way. Mm-hmm. But 1 in 5 children are impoverished and don't know where their next meal is coming from. That's insane. That's in America, by the way. We're not talking about a third world country. So anyway, I'm like, what's going on here? What are we doing here?
Ridiculous.
Doesn't make sense, fam. Aqua Astra said, it's really annoying. PetSmart had to do the same thing when throwing out dog food because people dig it out. For what reasons, I don't know. And you know what? Maybe there's people out there who they dig out the dog food and then they resell it. I don't know. Maybe there's some silver lining there. I don't know. Silver lining is not the right word, but maybe there's a method to the madness. But I don't know. Like I said, I just call it like I see it. I don't like the idea of eggs costing $20,000 and then like grocery stores tossing out whole cartons of them. So anyway, this has been a very interesting off-brand conversation for the show.
That's what these Friday ones are about. We just kind of,
these are the unhinged ones.
Rattle around.
The hidden episodes. The secret. These are the secret levels to. Which secret levels? What I am referencing. The old Mario games with like the secret world, secret levels. Dude, I am loving Astrobot, which has.
Oh, I want to play it, man.
It has secret levels as well. So this game won Game of the Year this most recent year. And my wife always gives me a hard time, by the way, when we have these conversations, because she's like, oh, every game's just the game of the year to you. Because I have like she doesn't understand that I have like, oh, that's the best role-playing game. That's the best ARPG. WoW's the best MMO, all this stuff. But so I was telling her one game of the year, and she's like, oh, yeah, another game won Game of the Year. And I was like, well, because every year there's a new game. Right. But anyway, Astrobot won Game of the Year most recently, and playing it now with my kids. This is a incredibly good, fun game.
No, I want to play it so bad, just because like not only all the acclaim it's getting, but just the fact that it's getting that as the type of game it is. I think just speaks to how fun it must be.
It's very much Sony's Mario, and the game is fun. I think what's more impressive, it's a gorgeous game, but every level oozes with creativity and uniqueness. It's not like every level's the same until you get to the next world. Like you have a bunch of worlds, and every level is totally different, like in its own unique spin on something. And there's been multiple times where I feel like Mario always did this well, where like it'll clue you in on like a little trick, and then you realize you need that to like progress later. Astrobot does a really good of like little tiny things. You're like, oh, that's interesting, and then you realize like, oh,
Yeah.
So there's been a few moments where I've like out loud laughed and been like, oh, that's so smart. I love that. So definitely.
And it's got like a lot of like, I don't know if Easter eggs is the right word, but like it's got like all the Sony games like referenced in it and stuff.
It
right?
is packed with Easter eggs. There's a God of War level. There's an Uncharted level. But these are like more like the bonus levels. So like the actual levels are unique to Astrobot and created for like the insular experience of Astrobot. But then there's like some extra bonus levels that have those references that are really, really fun. So they do a good job of referencing those things without like it being the game itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was changing the subject.
Yeah.
Other things we talked about was they're apparently making a Cyberpunk 2. And, you know, I mentioned to you that in the WhatsApp, and I'm surprised you never went back and finished the first one.
Dude, there's so many games that like, I call it my list.
Yep.
Like 50 deep at this point that I want. Then it's on there. But I won't lie, it's not very high on there because there's like 6 other games I want to play first, but like it is on the proverbial do list. But I've heard it's in a great spot.
I have to imagine there's a day coming.
Have you played it?
Never played it. I have to imagine there's a day coming where our free time has returned and finances are no longer an issue. And it's just like, what do I want to play today? But
yeah,
maybe I'm just clawing on to childhood. I don't know. My wife's gotten into sewing, and yesterday, you know, as the kids are like running all over the place, she's like, I just want to sew today. And I was like, that's how I feel about video games. Now you get it. She was like, okay, well, I'm like making stuff.
it's like not the support I was looking for.
So, and then one other thing we could talk about today, a good conversation in the Discord in our DM Academy channel. This conversation around nerfing encounters. And I'm curious, when you were a DM, did you ever find yourself with your players in an encounter that was too difficult for them? And if so, did you nerf it or did you force them to ride it out?
Interesting.
Or even if you can't think of a specific example, what's your theory on fudging numbers? And, you know, are you a purist in, hey, what we got's what we got? Or are you willing to, you know, roll that nat 20 over to a 6?
I've fudged numbers before.
I knew
No,
it. I knew it.
I'm not a purist in the sense that like that it, you know, I wouldn't say that like, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of in between. Like I've never fudged a number on like, this feels too like on something important, if we can call it that. But like in terms of like helping streamline fights, I've done that.
Yeah, for sure.
If that makes sense. But never like nat 20, like they'll die and I've changed it. It's never been like that type of situation. I can't really like think back in the moment, but I've done it before for sure.
I'm going to say something a little controversial. I think during the tailgate before the finale of CR, when Matt was asked, have you ever fudged a number? And he said, no, never. I think that was a lie.
You do?
I do. I think
you just think it's not possible, or
no,
is there something you're thinking of specifically?
I think it is absolutely totally possible that Matt's a purist in terms of like the dice are as they are. I think is one of those things that you could never admit. You could never admit it without.
That's a good point.
Without incredibly, there's so much toxic conversation around it's scripted and all that stuff. I feel like you could never admit it without it being more harm than good.
Right.
So I don't envision Matt as like a mustache twirling, like they believed me.
Yeah.
I think I see it as a white lie, but I think it's totally fine if he's not lying. This isn't like a hill that I'm dying on. As an aside, I don't think he is in a position where he could say that honestly without.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
The Reddit hive mind getting after it. So
I agree with that. That would have opened Pandora's box. Not, of course, in terms of the wider CR community, but there's probably also an element of like not wanting his players to know that. Like even if the CR fandom didn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you want to protect the experience for your players and make it and think that, you know. So I agree with you. I think it is possible that he never has, though.
Totally.
But I agree that there is no universe where he was going to admit that he has.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was an old, back in the day when I was first getting into DMing, there was an old Reddit thread that was at like in detail about like the things you should never do as a DM. And like one of the top comments back then was never, ever talk about how the sausage gets made. Which I've held on to that a little bit, but to your credit of Matt, like I don't really want to say that to my players. There's definitely been details where I think the only person I've been maybe somewhat transparent with is my wife, because we like just to talk D&D. But there's definitely been moments where she's been like, you know, what would have happened if we went that way, or, you know, what was really happening there. But even with that, a lot of it I keep close to the chest. So you got to keep some of the magic, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment for sure.
Aki, let's see, Carrot catching up on chat, y'all. Oh man, so many good anecdotes that we unfortunately don't have time for today. But I will say, Carrot Plush did say, I remember getting so hyped for Cyberpunk, and then the nonsense of its release made me never want to get into it. I was actually the exact same way. That was a big reason why I did not play it, because it felt so dishonest that I just didn't want to get into it. And did you ever have any like actual issues on your end playing it, or was it?
Yeah, for some reason I'm remembering you being there, but maybe you weren't.
You streamed it.
I was streaming. So it came out. I was streaming it, and it was like it wasn't a good stream because like the performance was so bad. So I literally have never played it since that moment.
Yep.
And
then Achy Bones,
I should have refunded it, but I didn't. So.
And does it affect your willingness to buy a sequel?
I mean, I'm definitely not going to buy the sequel until I play this one. But like, assuming I do play it and enjoy it, then I'd buy a sequel. CG Project Red fumbled a little bit there, but they have enough goodwill in general for me to let that one slide. Especially considering they fixed it.
Yeah, true.
You know,
another great game that fixed it, by the way, No Man's Sky is still getting content.
Yeah.
So shout out to that developer as well. Last thing we'll mention before we wrap up today, Achy Bone said, have you guys ever tried or wanted to try the Cyberpunk tabletop? A lot of cool updates lately. There's a lot of games out there that have their own tabletop version. Yeah. And I never hear about it. So I didn't even know there was a Cyberpunk tabletop. Had you heard of that or played that or?
No, I think I've heard of it, but I've never played it or anything. Achy, have you played it?
Yeah, let us know what you think about it.
What your thoughts would be.
It made me think we need like a board game channel. And then I was like, no, stop making channels in the Discord. I have to stop. But anyway, I will say there's a Lord of the Rings tabletop game, which I'm playing next month, end of next month for somebody's birthday. I'm really excited for that.
Are you dimming or playing?
No, I'm just playing. I'm a player.
Nice.
Every time I get to play, I can finally like live out all of the wrongings that my players have done to me by being, the most, I'm gonna battle every call. I'm gonna be as toxic. What's that Glee GIF? I'm gonna make this place so toxic. So, anyway,
revenge.
All right, friends. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up today. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Friday wrap-up stream. We'll be back next Friday to talk some more. In the meantime, we got Worlds Beyond. We'll have an episode out probably Monday. And other than that, we're just enjoying Divergence. So there you go.
Yeah. Discord, join it if you haven't already. That's all I'll say. Thank you guys for listening to our rambles on technology and trash today.
All right, we'll see ya.
All right, y'all. Have a good weekend.